from the Netherlands live abroad in New York. How do they live and work in the city that never sleeps? That's the question to which this NL Club NYC podcast will give you the answers. Here are your hosts, Eric and Mark.
Yeah, and today not with Eric, but with Mark and two very special guests, Eelco and Klaar. And welcome to another episode here of our video podcast. And today, live from the Salmagundi Club, where parallel people are dropping in to do a Friday afternoon drink in a good tradition, also in the Netherlands. And at the same time, we have members here in our first video podcast of the year. And why don't we start with introducing ourselves? My name is Mark. I'm now emigrating to New York, and I'm one of the podcast hosts here from the NL Club. And with me today, we have Eelco. Eelco, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So, Eelco Keij. I've been in New York on and off since 2006, and I am the founder and chair of the Foundation for the Dutch Abroad.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Eelco. And it's a pleasure to have you today to talk about a very important topic. But before we go into that, Klaar, maybe it's nice that you introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey, everybody. My name is Klaar the Schepper. And my company's name is Flux, Tailor. And I've been in New York since 1999. And back in the day, I was an actress.
You were an actress. Wow. Let's start before we go into the matter, what brought you guys to New York? Because we're a club. We are there to help people that maybe want to move to New York. We're there for people that recently moved to New York. We're there for people that have been living in New York for a long time and want to meet other Dutchies or have an affiliation to the Dutchies. Klaar, you triggered me. You started to become an actress. Can you take us a little bit on your path towards New York and what brought you here?
Sure. So I was an actress in the Netherlands and had done some work in television. And I figured it was a pretty small scene back in the Netherlands, and it would be good to be able to do the work in English. It would broaden my horizon and my market. So I learned that the good acting schools were in New York City. So back in 98, I took a trip here, and from the moment I landed, even though JFK was kind of disgusting, I could feel the buzz and it clicked. And so I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
And since then, I've done many different kinds of things. I'm no longer actively an actress. But so what brought me here was really the ability to broaden my horizon. I thought I was going to move back. Then I ended up getting stuck here.
Yeah. Was it love that kept you stuck here? Was it something else that kept you stuck here?
Are you clear, man? Did somebody give you information?
No, not at all. No, just guessing. In my case, it was love, so that's why.
Well, it was. I did want to stay here as well because I felt I was, as we say these days, vibing, and also I was in love, and so it was a combination of reasons that made me stay here. Then eventually I went to university here, and then I started my company here.
Wow.
So, and we're going to talk about it. But part of the reason that I'm also still squarely here and haven't spent that much time in the Netherlands is the fact that if I would do so, I would lose my residency, and that's getting figured out.
Yeah, nice cliffhanger. Let's stay. Let's keep that for later in the show. Eelco, maybe after your introduction, can you tell us what brought you to New York? How did you end up here in the city?
That wasn't so hard. I was here on a trip for a political campaign, actually, and in a bar, I met someone, and now she's my wife, and I'm one of those Dutchies in an international family. Our two boys were born here in New York City, and so we are stuck in New York for now.
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. So the thing is this: once you are moving abroad, you are being confronted with a lot of stuff, right? You need to find your way. You need to see like what is coming at me. How am I gonna register here? How I'm gonna do my immigration? Getting a visa, getting a green card. It's all part of the process. And then at a certain point, after you got the green card, you can go towards a residency status, if I'm correct. But maybe you can fill me in here. I'm just like building up the bridge here. And the thing is this: once you are, after a couple of years or several years, you are having the residential state, you can get in trouble. Can we start about getting in trouble first before we go to the solution, Klaar? Can you help us in your journey in being Dutch, then going towards residential status?
Not being.
Oh, you're not in trouble. Okay, that's good.
I'm a resident. I've got the green card. No, there is no problem.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So there's no problems with that.
No.
But if I would want to spend more time in the Netherlands again, for example, because I would want to outsource some of the software development work from a company,
Mhm.
which is something I'm considering because software developers in the Netherlands are high quality.
Mhm.
And there happen to be lots of people from Ukraine there as well right now who are looking for employment. So
Yeah.
it's a good market right now. But if I would do that, and I would say want to secure property to have an office, then I would risk losing my residency status because I would be residing there in some shape or form.
Wow.
So that's me from now spending more time in the Netherlands. And the reason that I haven't yet become a citizen because that's what becomes possible after several years of having the residency status. Is that if I would do that, I would lose my Dutch citizenship. And currently, dual citizenship is only allowed in the Netherlands in certain exception cases.
Mhm.
And that's, for example, if your own country doesn't allow you to give up your citizenship, which is the case with Moroccan people,
Mhm.
or if you're married to, in this case, an American, you also don't lose your Dutch citizenship, but also to be married. So, so currently I have not become a citizen and I have not been spending more time in the Netherlands because of this thing, but I'm about to start my application process, which means that like in the next year, I might not be that person anymore.
Okay.
And not only will I lose the Dutch citizenship, the Dutch citizenship will lose me.
Wow. Yeah, that's also like a loss for the Netherlands, right? Eelco, you ran into this problem years ago. Can you tell us a little bit on how you founded your movement and based on what problem that you noticed and have been noticing from the beginning?
Well, let me start to saying this is indeed a wide global problem for most Dutch people around the world. We also know that thousands and thousands of Dutch people have lost their Dutch citizenship. Klaar is aware that she might lose it, or if she's going to apply, knowing the law as it is. But we know actually many more stories of people who lost it without knowing, and they were completely taken by surprise to find out years later that to be told like, sorry sir, man, you're not a Dutch citizen anymore. Can I have your passport? I have my scissors right here. But going back to where that started was actually for me in 2011 when I wanted to become a US citizen, mostly for the protection of my children. And then I have a legal background, so maybe I'm more sharpened in checking out what the legislation is, because I would not blame anyone for verifying, oh, what does the Dutch legislation said? Like most people, and I think they're completely right, assume that Dutch citizenship is for life and that not an external force, especially not without a warning or without a way to get it back, would just take that away. So I completely feel sympathy for those people, and that's when I found out in 2011 that you could actually lose your Dutch citizenship, exactly that, like without any warning, without being able to appeal, and with immediate effect. So then it's like I don't want that, but then I thought, oh wait a minute, I fall in one of those exemption categories that Klaar also mentioned because I'm married to somebody of the country that I'm applying the citizenship of. So I thought, well, I'm safe, but that's kind of stupid, because why would somebody who's not married, or whose marriage is not recognized, or any other situation, what's the difference really? I mean, what do we gain as a Dutch society by saying, yeah, you are in and you are out? What is the point really for them and for the Netherlands itself? So that's when, with other people, also partially from New York, we set up a movement. It became bigger and bigger, and we managed to at least stop a more strict legislation part. So that was good news. But the bad news was still out there, and that's up till today. So now, going fast forward over 10 years, because we've been actively lobbying, the government, the Dutch government, said recently, and when I say recently, I really mean recently, like last month, that in the first quarter of 2023, which is somewhere between now and March 31st on my watch, there will be a draft publicly available on a renewal of the legislation on Dutch citizenship. And of course, we're pushing from all sides behind the scenes to make this as broad as possible. It was in 2016 that the National Dutch Ombudsman wrote a piece, and it's called "And Then I Lost My Dutch Citizenship," acknowledging this widespread problem and coming with suggestions like how to fix this. For example,
and just for me to understand, I am immigrating to the US. I become a US resident. What happens if I lose my Dutch citizenship? What consequences does it have for me when I lose that? Could you sum those up? Have you been researching them? What are the consequences?
well, first of all, you're not an EU citizen anymore. So the free travel is gone. Also in the Netherlands, you're a foreigner now. So you have to, first of all, very practically, you have to stand in a different line at Schiphol Airport. But also, if you want to apply for things, or things that you took for granted as a Dutch citizen, you have to stand back in line as any other foreigner. So you deal with visa. There was this woman whose mom was dying, literally dying, and she was afraid that she was about to be kicked out by the IND, the immigration services.
Mhm.
And then, quote, quote, luckily her mom passed away a couple of days before her visa expired. So she was there. But it's just, people, when you want to take care of your older parents and you lost your Dutch citizenship, it becomes very hard. So not just for yourself, but also for your immediate relatives. And that's just to name a couple of consequences.
Klaar, do you also see consequences of the fact that you will be residing here? Like, are there things you had, like privileges, being European, being Dutch, that you don't have anymore, that you go like, oh my God, if I knew this, then I would have maybe done it different or in another way?
So I haven't started the application process yet. I haven't lost anything. I'm cool currently. I'm Dutch. I can go there, no problem. I can spend time with my parents there. What I can't do is buy property or do anything seriously that would make the US government think that I've started to reside there, because that would risk losing my residency status, which would mean that I cannot hold my company, my US based company, as I do now. And
Because
so
that's
that's my
possible.
existence, right?
Because that's possible, because you run a company, you founded a company, so it is actually possible to found and start a company in the US without being a resident.
I am a resident, so that's how I was.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
I did want to just note, I just logged on to the podcast and it is not pulling up.
Okay.
It looks like it's still starting at 6.
Okay, great.
We're
Yeah,
not live.
let's fix that later. Yeah.
This is a little technical nerve here. So I haven't lost anything, but yeah, I could either, if I decide to go to the Netherlands without doing anything about my residency status, risk losing my residency status, hence also my company and thus my economic existence. Then I'm in the Netherlands and I would have to start from scratch because I've lived my professional life here since 1999.
Mhm.
So either that, or I'm here, I'm a US citizen, but I lose my Dutch citizenship and I cannot spend more time there than like any other regular visitor from the US could, which seems impractical given the fact that, yes, like many others, I would like to spend time with my parents as they're aging. And it's one of the reasons I started a company so I can make my own schedule. And since my work is mostly on the internet, I can also work there. A little impractical because of the time difference, but it's possible. So
Yeah. So the thing is
Okay.
that also what a lot of people don't know is that you're limited the time you can spend overseas, right? So you're limited to 182 days, and that's also capped in 2 times 90 days that you can actually spend when you are, for example, from the Netherlands and you want to stay in the US. That's all these things that you need to be respectful, because if you go over, what happens if I go over the 181 and 182 days, Eelco? I will be expelled from the US, so I can't get in until the US decides, like, okay, you can get back in again, Mark. So you really need to be on point here. Eelco, you started a movement, you started a foundation. Can you tell something about Stichting Nederlanders Buiten Nederland, SBNB, right?
SNBM.
As NBN, see. Can you tell a little bit about that movement and what you guys are currently doing to influence? Because that's why you started all of this.
Right. Well, in 2014, I wrote a book on. I started research on how other countries in Europe, Portugal, Croatia, Italy, France, and Switzerland, were treating their citizens that were living in other countries. And to me, that was a revelation, because I thought, wait a minute, they've established all kinds of structures to embed their citizens abroad and to keep those ties much closer. So what? And then I saw they have these foundations. So I'm not going to claim that, like, oh, this was my great idea. No, this was perfectly copied in part from other countries already existing, who are light years ahead of the Netherlands, and recognize the force, economic force, cultural force of their citizens abroad, and they want to integrate that, keep that close. So, and I thought, well, that doesn't exist yet for the Dutch, and it seems like a smart thing to do. Also, it's a politically neutral organization, because I am from one political party, but there's other board members who are from other different political parties. So, because you cannot tie this to one political party, it concerns us all. It just doesn't matter what you vote. And so that's why I started this organization for almost 4 years ago with other Dutchies. Most of them are still on the board, and we've created this this movement. We are now known, well respected. We are often in touch with civil servants, members of parliament, people from the government. A lot of behind the scenes chatter on how to change legislation, asking parliamentary questions. Sometimes we're very public about surveys or a petition. It's a combination of being a watchdog, being a lobbyist, being an informer, like now with the new upcoming elections that are completely new, and which we helped create after a process of 8 years of lobbying.
Wow.
The Dutch constitution had to be changed for that, but we managed. And it also indicates that this type of structure is the only thing that really works long term. This is not a one person show. There's many people involved here from all over the world. And I hope that through this structure, we can achieve many more things, like now with this legislation, that we can really make the needle move.
Yeah. How important is it for you, Klaar, to still stay Dutch, but also be American? What does it mean to you to stay Dutch, but also to have like a dual citizenship?
it means a lot. But before I dive into that, I do want to take the opportunity to just give, as you say, kudos to Eelco and everybody else at SB and SMBN.
Yes,
And
SMBN.
their work has been amazing, and they've just really focused on this topic and worked to get attention from people in the Dutch government. They've been a conduit for people like me who are struggling with this problem to make their voices heard.
Yeah.
For example, at King's Day, there was a big event right here in the Salmagundi Club. It was like right, still mid pandemics, and I was hesitant about coming to the space. But Eelco managed to, pipe into, oh, Klaar wants to talk to the people from the Tweede Kamer who are here. And I managed to do that. And I think, that kind of work, really going the extra mile, has made it happen such that we recently had this meeting that had hundreds of people calling in from all over the world. And I think it's these personal stories that people who are working in the government getting visibility on this issue, because we are abroad, so they don't see it,
No.
but you can no longer ignore it. And I guess the pandemic has made public processes like this possible. So it's yeah, but it's really the driving force of Eelco and his team.
Super
It's
cool.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's super nice of you. That's
It's just solid.
amazing. Do you you said 8 years. What do you envision for the future, Eelco? How do you see the steps after this, and how can also people like Klaar, people like me, support you in doing this, basically also for us, and doing this together?
Okay, looking long term, so many countries around the Netherlands have opened up to dual nationality, especially in the past 10 years. We're basically the last one standing together with Austria. It's ridiculous. I have really high hopes that, especially, frankly, when this prime minister is gone, that the chances are much higher. I think in our lifetimes we will see the change, but I want to see it yesterday. And I also know that if you don't keep pushing, it won't. This is not something that will come automatically. It's only when we keep pushing the issue, which is exactly what we'll do. I'm absolutely confident it will happen. The sooner the better. We have an extreme good opportunity right now with this new legislation in the pipeline. But the words that the government used may indicate it's not going to be enough. So and especially for the people who lost their Dutch citizenship, because they said we want to give it back to those who lost it from after 2003. So really recent. So those who lost it before that, they're aliens, and without further explanation. So in other words, we don't know yet what's going to happen, and we have to keep our voices heard. So platforms like this, podcasts, interviews, journalists, anything that helps, social media, especially what Klaar said, especially post-pandemic, the first call, the first webinar we had with SMBN in the pandemic on dual nationality, we had almost 1,000 people on the call from all over the world. And when those members of parliament saw that, it's like, oh, wait a minute, you guys are real, you exist, you don't fill up cells like the FNV does, but you're really there. And
we're right here in the chat.
Yeah, you read the newspaper, you know what's going on. So it's like a trove that suddenly they discovered, and of course we know already exists. Look, globalization has taken place, and it's only going to continue. International families are a very normal thing in the Netherlands, by the way, as well, right? If you live in any place, give me one street where it's only Dutch people living in that street. I mean, come on, it doesn't exist anymore. So, but we need that majority of parliamentarians to give that vote, and that's what we're working on.
So in order to do that, people can visit your website, right? It's
SB.nl.
Yes, this is gonna be staying until the end of the stream.
We can also Nederlanders buiten Nederland.nl.
Yeah, Stichting. And there they can sign up for an email newsletter. Is there other things what we can do? Can we give financial support? Can we make donations? Can we become a member? What can we do, Klaar? Maybe can you explain? What can we do to
make this go viral?
Right, gonna make this go viral. That is something you can do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I did, and I'm sorry to hear that Eelco thinks that this is gonna have to wait until Rutte is no longer there. So hereby, I did once meet Prime Minister Rutte, and after hearing a quick review of my life story, he was a little bit puzzled because it is not categorizable.
No.
And he said, "Well, I definitely won't forget you. Zal je zeker niet vergeten. So here we go, Meneer Rutte. Come on, get with the program. the Netherlands is a country that doesn't have a lot of natural resources. It needs its trade with other countries.
Yeah.
And making this change in this antiquated law is key to having the Netherlands thrive internationally.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. Just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For Eelco, for us to support you and also the club members who have also an interest in this, because people are moving to New York, can you sum up the things we can do? We can follow you on social media. We can sign up for the email newsletter. What can we do more?
Basically 3 things. 1, donations. We do ask them in our newsletter almost every time because we are completely run on voluntary funding. And also we as board members, we don't get any money. So if we fly over to meet parliamentarians, we all pay this out of pocket because we don't want any confusion there. So we pay everything ourselves, like really everything. That's 1. Second, contacts to journalists. Because journalists, they come and go. And especially those people who've lived outside of the Netherlands themselves, they are very understanding and eager to write articles. So any type of contact that will reach broader masses, absolutely fantastic. And thirdly, I cannot stress this enough, maybe this is a bit American, so it's not ingrained in the Dutch psyche, but if you write to your own political party, not per se where you're a member of, because many people are not a member of party, but the party you would vote for, and say like, hey, I want to vote for you, but I heard you're against dual nationality, like the VVD, that's still against. Why? Otherwise, I might change my vote. Just challenge them. Ask them why they do as they do.
And then the 4th point, what Klaar already added, we go viral, right? Klaar, that's what we do. Is just be vocal, be viral. Make sure you talk about this topic because it's important.
If we're finally, coming clean, acknowledging the colonial past, apologizing. Let's just go. Apologizing.
Mark Rutte, that's my only hope, Klaar, because Mark Rutte has twice past 10 years changed his opinion on Zwarte Piet and on slavery. And that was a huge turn. So it's not impossible for him.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
We have to be positively affirmative about this and say, we know you see us. I mean, I'm sitting right here. I like you said, I want to stay Dutch because I value that I'm from the Netherlands. I value everything that I was raised with there.
Yeah.
I have to also have Belgian parents and have all of the richness of also being Belgian in a way. But I want to be able to stay connected to the Netherlands. And that's valuable to the Netherlands as well. So, you see us, get it on the table and just make it happen. It's long overdue.
Long overdue, exactly. Yeah, and then also, don't forget that the Dutchies had a big part in the creation of New York. So there is some Dutch roots here as well, right? Okay, guys, I love talking to you about this for hours. We can't, so I'm gonna thank you guys for showing up. Eelco, thank you so much. Stichting Nederlanders Buiten Nederland. For the people that speak Dutch, go there. We will definitely support you. We all have an interest as we are abroad. Klaar, also I hope to see you back again to talk about a little bit about the business and the stuff that you do when you are in the United States. And of course, Eelco, I would love to have you back, as well as everybody that is currently listening. Thank you so much. Sign up, support Eelco and his team. Make sure that it is on your agenda because it's your future and we're here to support it. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mark.
How do people from the Netherlands live abroad in New York? How do they live and work in the city that never sleeps? That's the question to which this NL Club NYC podcast will give you the answers. Here are your hosts, Eric and Mark.
See you next year.